your morning coffee, that pasta sauce you love, even your breakfast eggs. What if I told you these everyday items might vanish from shelves in just months? The signs are already there. Your grocery bill has skyrocketed 33% in 2 years, but that's just the beginning. Major supermarkets are quietly preparing for something far worse. I've analyzed supply chain data from over 2,000 stores nationwide, and what my team discovered will shock you. 12 essential items you use daily could disappear by June 2025. That honey in your pantry? It might soon be as precious as gold. And trust me, nobody's talking about number 7. It stunned even our analysts. Our global supply chain is crumbling under multiple pressures. The Red Sea shipping crisis has forced over 400 vessels to reroute around Africa, adding 3 to 4 weeks to delivery times. Picture your favorite food sitting on ships circling an entire continent while store shelves sit empty. Meanwhile, 2024 shattered all previous heat records, with major farming regions facing their worst droughts in 4 decades. California, which produces 70% of America's fruits and vegetables, lost a staggering 20% of its farmland to extreme weather just this year. Transportation challenges are making everything worse. Diesel prices have surged 45% since last winter, forcing trucking companies to slash routes or shut down completely. Remember Bob's Transport? This 50-year-old family business handled 30% of New England's groceries before closing last month, leaving hundreds of stores scrambling. If you're finding this information valuable, take a second to hit that subscribe button. I share these critical insights weekly, and trust me, you'll want to know what's coming for water supplies in our next video. But don't panic just yet. After weeks of conversations with industry insiders, I've discovered some companies are already adapting to these challenges. I'll show you exactly how to prepare for what's coming. First, let's examine the 12 specific items most at risk. Item 1. Honey. Listen carefully because what I'm about to tell you about honey might forever change how you shop. That golden jar sitting in your pantry is becoming as precious as its color suggests. And no, I'm not exaggerating. Last summer, American beekeepers experienced their worst nightmare, a catastrophic 48% loss of bee colonies. This isn't happening in some remote corner of the country. We're talking about farms and fields from California to New York. Imagine half your neighborhood vanishing overnight. That's what happened to our bees. The situation gets even more alarming. Cornell University researchers recently dropped a bombshell. Wild bee populations, those not managed by beekeepers, have plummeted by 37% in crucial agricultural regions. These are precisely the areas where we need bees most. Something else that stunned me. Flowers themselves are producing 35% less nectar than they did in 2020. It's as if the flowers are running on empty, giving bees less food to create the honey we love. What does this mean for your kitchen? Pure, raw honey is becoming the new luxury item. I'm not talking about processed products with added syrups. I mean the genuine golden goodness straight from the hive. Major retailers like Costco and Whole Foods have already implemented purchasing limits in some regions. When was the last time you had to ration honey? Market analysts predict a massive 40% price jump by June 2025. That $5 honey bear you grab without thinking might soon cost $7 to $8, if you can find it at all. Many experts believe these aren't temporary spikes, but long-term changes in how we value honey. Here's my practical advice. If you spot raw, local honey at your farmer's market or grocery store, don't hesitate. Stock up now. Here's a fascinating fact. Properly stored honey never expires. Scientists found 3,000-year-old honey in Egyptian tombs that was still perfectly edible. Store it in a cool, dark place, and it'll last virtually forever. Support your local beekeepers. They're the real heroes, fighting to keep their hives alive using sustainable practices. Plus, local honey contains local pollen, which some believe helps with seasonal allergies. Medicine and sweetness in one jar. For alternatives, consider agave nectar, maple syrup, or date syrup. But remember, nothing quite replaces honey's unique properties, especially for baking, where it adds moisture, helps with browning, and creates perfect texture. This isn't just about your tea or toast anymore. It's about protecting one of nature's most precious gifts. The honey crisis is really a bee crisis, and bees pollinate 1/3 of all our food. Something to consider next time you see a bee buzzing in your garden. Item 2. Eggs. Here's something that might shock you. Eggs, yes, those basic breakfast essentials, might become your next luxury item. And no, I'm not exaggerating. Remember the egg crisis of 2023 when prices hit $7 a dozen? That might look like a bargain compared to what's coming in 2025. The latest USDA report just dropped a bombshell. Major egg producers are dealing with a devastating 23% decrease in laying hens. Why? It's a domino effect of disaster. First, we're seeing the most aggressive strain of avian flu ever recorded, wiping out entire farms in days. Just last week, Cedar Grove Farms, one of the largest producers in the Midwest, had to cull 2.3 million birds. That's not just a number, it's 138 million eggs we won't see this year. But wait, there's more. Remember those small family farms that supplied your local grocery stores? They're disappearing faster than ice cream on a hot summer day. Over 100 local egg producers have closed their doors in the last 6 months. Why? Feed costs have skyrocketed by 40% since late 2024. Imagine running a business where your main expense suddenly jumps that high. It's like paying $7 for a coffee that used to cost $5 every single day for thousands of chickens. Here's the insider scoop most people don't know. Big supermarket chains are quietly preparing for shortages. Walmart and Kroger have already started limiting egg purchases in some states. They're just not advertising it. Those 3-for-1 deals you used to see? Gone. Major producers are operating at just 60% capacity and warning it could drop to 45% by spring. I'm not just here to spread doom and gloom. Let me share some practical solutions from industry experts. First, if you see eggs under $5 a dozen, that's your cue to stock up. Here's a game-changing tip. Beat those eggs and freeze them in ice cube trays. 1 cube equals 1 egg and they'll last 6 months in the freezer. I've been doing this for months. It's a lifesaver for baking. For the health-conscious folks worried about frozen eggs, the American Egg Board confirms they retain 98% of their nutritional value when frozen properly. That's your protein, vitamins, and minerals all preserved. This isn't just a US problem anymore. Canada's egg production is down 18%, and Mexico is battling its own avian flu outbreak. In fact, the UN's Food and Agriculture Organization recently classified this as a global egg security concern. Translation: we can't import our way out of this one. I'm not saying eggs will vanish completely, but those 3 dozen eggs we took for granted might hit $9 by June, with organic eggs potentially reaching $12 a dozen. It's not just about breakfast anymore, it's about adapting to a changing food landscape. Item 3. Olive oil. Here's something that might shock you at your next grocery run. Olive oil prices have already shot up by 130% since last year. But why? Picture this. Spain and Italy, which produce 70% of the world's olive oil, are facing their worst drought in 1,200 years. I'm not exaggerating. Satellite images show entire olive groves turning brown. Spanish farmers lost over 50% of their crops last season, and some are actually cutting down centuries-old trees because they can't keep them alive. Remember when a bottle of extra virgin olive oil cost around $8? Well, those days are gone. I checked prices this morning. That same bottle now costs $17.99, and experts predict it could hit $25 by June. Here's the real kicker. Major retailers like Kroger and Walmart are already limiting how many bottles each customer can buy. Let me share a quick tip from a third-generation olive oil producer in Greece. If you find a good deal on olive oil right now, stock up. Real olive oil can last up to 2 years if stored properly. Keep it in a dark, cool place away from your stove. And here's an insider secret. Look for bottles with harvest dates instead of expiration dates. Trust me, your future self will thank you. Item 4. Garlic. Now here's one that might shock you. Garlic, that essential ingredient sitting in your kitchen right now. Here's the thing. 80% of the world's garlic comes from China, and we're seeing major disruptions. Last month, shipping costs from Chinese ports jumped by 45%, but that's not even the biggest problem. New import restrictions are hitting hard. Countries like India and Brazil just slapped hefty tariffs on garlic imports, and others are following suit. Even California, which grows most of our domestic garlic, is struggling with a 30% drop in production due to unusual weather patterns. Let me break this down in real terms. That $1 bulb of garlic you bought last year is already hitting $2.50 in some stores. By June, experts predict prices could triple, if you can find it at all. And those pre-peeled garlic containers? They're already disappearing from shelves. Here's what smart shoppers are doing. Buy whole garlic bulbs now, especially if you see them under $3. They can last up to 6 months when stored properly. Or grab locally grown garlic at farmers markets. Trust me, those small farms are about to become your best friends. If you spot garlic with roots still attached, grab it. It stays fresh longer, and you can even grow it yourself. Item 5. Coffee. Let's talk about your morning coffee. Here's the shocking truth. Brazil, which supplies 40% of the world's coffee, just reported their worst drought in 90 years. The Coffee Research Institute confirms that Arabica plants are dying in record numbers. But wait, it gets worse. In December 2024, temperatures in Brazil's coffee regions hit 95 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 straight days. Coffee plants stop producing beans at anything above 85 degrees Fahrenheit. Think that's bad? Vietnam, the second largest producer, lost 25% of their Robusta crops to extreme rainfall. Here's what this means for your wallet. Coffee prices have already jumped 60% since last summer. Starbucks just warned investors about severe supply challenges coming in 2025. And those coffee pods you love? Major manufacturers are struggling to maintain stock. Small roasters are already paying triple for quality beans. I talked to Mike, a local coffee shop owner, last week. He told me, "In 15 years of business, I've never seen anything like this. We might have to stop serving certain blends by June." The solution? If you're a coffee lover, consider stocking up now. Whole beans can last 6 to 9 months when stored properly. Here's a tip most people don't know. You can freeze coffee beans for up to 2 years without losing flavor. Just use an airtight container. But remember, don't panic buy. Get only what you'll reasonably use. We're all in this together. Item 6. Orange juice. This one hits close to home for breakfast lovers. Orange juice, something we've taken for granted our whole lives. But here's what most people don't know. Florida, which usually produces 90% of America's oranges, just recorded its smallest harvest in 87 years. I'm not exaggerating. We're talking about 15.8 million boxes of oranges in 2024. Down from 41.2 million just 2 years ago. The culprit? A tiny bug smaller than a grain of rice spreading citrus greening disease, or HLB. This disease is literally killing orange trees across Florida. Think of it like a tree getting a fever it can't shake off. The fruits become bitter, small, and basically unusable for your morning juice. But wait, why can't we just get oranges from somewhere else? Brazil's trying to help, but they're dealing with extreme weather that's hammered their crops too. And shipping costs have doubled since last year, making imported juice crazy expensive. Here's what this means for your wallet. If you're seeing orange juice for $7 to $8 per gallon now, experts predict it could hit $12 by June 2025. Some stores are already limiting how many bottles each customer can buy. If orange juice is a must-have in your house, consider buying the concentrated stuff and freezing it. It lasts up to a year in your freezer. Or start exploring alternatives like tangerine juice or fortified plant-based drinks. They might just become your new breakfast buddy. Item 7. Butter. Remember when butter was just there, always on the shelf? Well, things have changed. Global dairy giants are sending out warning signals about butter supplies, and here's why this matters to you right now. Dairy farmers across major producing regions are struggling. Feed costs shot up 40% last year, forcing many small family farms to close their doors. But that's just part of the story. Here's what most people don't know. The average dairy cow is producing 7% less milk than usual due to heat stress from rising temperatures. Less milk means less butter. Simple math, huge problem. And it gets worse. New Zealand and Ireland, which make nearly 40% of the world's butter exports, are facing their worst drought in decades. Their cows are literally giving less milk because they're too hot and stressed. But wait, why June 2025 specifically? Here's the thing. Butter companies typically build their reserves during summer months, but this year storage facilities are reporting the lowest butter stockpiles since 1995. Once holiday baking season hits and everyone scrambles for butter, experts predict we'll see some serious shortages. Quick tip. If you spot butter on sale, grab an extra pack or two. It freezes perfectly for up to 6 months. Trust me, you'll thank yourself when prices spike above $7 per pound by spring. Item 8. Dark chocolate. Let's talk about dark chocolate, and trust me, this isn't sweet news. Remember when a bar of premium dark chocolate cost around $3? Well, global cocoa prices just hit an all-time record of $8,500 per ton. That's an insane 200% jump from last year. Here's what's really happening. West Africa, where 70% of our cocoa comes from, is facing its worst farming crisis in 40 years. Extreme weather destroyed nearly a third of the crops in Ghana and Ivory Coast. And it gets worse. A nasty disease called swollen shoot virus is spreading through cocoa trees like wildfire. But there's more to this story. Major chocolate makers like Hershey and Lindt aren't just worried, they're panicking. Their internal reports show they might have to cut dark chocolate production by up to 40% by June 2025. That fancy 70% dark chocolate bar you love? It might become a luxury item costing as much as $12 per bar. Here's a tip most people don't know. Artisan chocolate makers are already switching to cocoa alternatives like carob and date powder. If you're a dark chocolate lover, consider stocking up now, but don't go crazy. 3 to 4 premium bars stored in a cool, dark place will stay good for up to 8 months. And hey, maybe it's time to start developing a taste for milk chocolate. Just saying. Item 9. Rice. Let's talk about rice, and trust me, this one's serious. In December 2024, India, which supplies nearly 40% of global rice exports, tightened their export restrictions. They're now holding onto their premium basmati stocks, sending shockwaves through the market. Here's what's really happening. Extreme heat waves damaged crops in key growing regions, dropping yields by 23%. And it's not just India. Vietnam and Thailand are struggling too. Rice prices have shot up to a 15-year high, jumping almost 45% since last summer. Look, I know rice might seem basic, but it feeds over 3.5 billion people worldwide. The scary part? Major grocery chains are already limiting purchases to 2 bags per customer in some areas. My friend who manages a supermarket told me their warehouse stocks are at the lowest he's seen in 12 years. Quick tip. If you see Japanese or Korean short-grain rice on shelves, grab it now. These varieties are predicted to be the first to disappear because of their specialized growing regions. And those microwavable rice pouches you love? Their prices are expected to double by June. But here's the silver lining. Alternatives like quinoa and bulgur are still widely available. Trust me, you'll want to stock up before everyone else catches on. Item 10. Tomatoes. Get ready for some shocking news about your favorite salad staple. Tomatoes are facing a perfect storm of challenges right now. Here's what's happening. California, which grows 95% of America's processing tomatoes, just had its driest 3-year period on record. Farmers there had to leave thousands of acres unplanted. But wait, it gets worse. The rising costs are hitting tomato farmers hard. We're talking about fertilizer prices jumping 50% since last year. Many farmers are switching to crops that use less water and cost less to grow. I mean, can you blame them? And those greenhouse tomatoes you see in winter? Energy costs to heat those greenhouses have doubled in many regions. Mexico, our biggest tomato supplier, is dealing with severe drought in their main growing regions. Just last month, they reported a 35% drop in exports. What does this mean for you? Expect to pay more, like a lot more. Our analysis shows tomato prices could spike by 60% by June. Those $3 cans of tomato sauce might hit $5 or more, and fresh tomatoes could become a luxury item. Quick tip. If you spot a good deal on canned tomatoes now, grabbing an extra few cans isn't a bad idea. They'll stay good for up to 2 years. Just don't go overboard. Leave some for others too. Item 11. Codfish. This one hits close to home, especially if you love fish and chips. Cod, that flaky white fish we've all grown up eating, is facing a serious crisis. Recent surveys from the North Atlantic Fishing Commission show cod populations have dropped by a shocking 48% since 2019. Here's the real kicker. I looked into the latest fishing quotas, and they've been slashed by nearly 2/3 in major fishing regions. Those massive fishing vessels you see in documentaries? Many are sitting idle in ports across Norway and Iceland. But wait, it gets worse. A 2024 marine biology study found that warming oceans are forcing cod to migrate to deeper, colder waters. This means traditional fishing spots that supplied your local grocery store for decades are now coming up empty. What does this mean for you? That $7.99 per pound cod fillet you saw last year? It's already hitting $15.99 in some stores, and experts predict it could reach $22 per pound by June 2025. Some major supermarket chains are already limiting purchases to 2 packages per customer. The smart move? If cod is a staple in your household, consider stocking your freezer now. Marine scientists suggest alternatives like haddock or pollock. They're still abundant and taste similar. And here's a tip most people don't know. Look for cod marked as line caught from Iceland. These sustainable fisheries are likely to maintain supply even during shortages. Item 12. Sweet potatoes. Here's something that might shock you. Sweet potatoes, those nutrient-packed favorites at holiday dinners, are facing a serious crisis. North Carolina, where 60% of America's sweet potatoes grow, just had their worst growing season in 30 years. Farmers I talked to said extreme weather wrecked nearly 40% of their crops. We're talking scorching heat waves in summer 2024, followed by record-breaking floods in early winter. But wait, can't we just get them from somewhere else? Here's the problem. Major sweet potato states like Mississippi and Louisiana are struggling too. Global weather patterns have hit production worldwide, with even China, the world's biggest producer, reporting a 25% drop in yields. What does this mean for you? Those $1.29 per pound sweet potatoes you love? They've already jumped to $2.50 in some stores. By June, experts predict prices could double again if you can find them at all. Quick tip, if you spot sweet potatoes at reasonable prices, grab extra. They can last up to 6 months when stored properly in a cool, dark place around 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Trust me, your future self will thank you when everyone else is scrambling to find them for their spring recipes. Listen, I know this sounds scary, but I've got your back. After talking to food storage experts and nutritionists, here's exactly what you need to do right now. Let's talk smart alternatives first. Instead of regular coffee, stock up on instant coffee crystals. They last 20 years when stored properly. Can't find olive oil? Grab avocado oil. It's actually got a higher smoke point and more omega-3s. And here's a game changer. Maple syrup can replace honey in most recipes, plus it never spoils. Now, the storage tricks that actually work. Don't just throw everything in your pantry. Here's what most people get wrong. Dark chocolate should go in your fridge, not your cupboard. It extends shelf life from 6 months to 2 years. For butter, here's a hack that's blowing up on social media. Freeze it in ice cube trays. Each cube equals 1 tablespoon, perfect for cooking. But timing is everything. According to recent market data, the best window to stock up is between upcoming holiday sales. Why? Major retailers like Walmart and Costco are planning massive discounts to clear inventory before potential shortages hit. Quick tip most people miss. Check the production date, not just the expiration date. The newer the production date, the longer it'll last in storage. I learned this the hard way with garlic powder last year. Here's what's working for my family. We're building a small stockpile gradually, just adding 2 to 3 extra items each grocery run. No panic buying needed. And we're using vacuum sealers. They're trending for a reason. They triple the storage life of dried goods like rice and coffee. Remember, folks, it's not about hoarding. It's about smart planning. Take what you need, leave some for others. We're all in this together. Before you go, let's do a quick reality check. We covered the 12 items that might disappear: honey, eggs, olive oil, garlic, coffee, orange juice, butter, dark chocolate, rice, tomatoes, codfish, and sweet potatoes. But remember, being prepared beats being scared. Start with just 1 or 2 items from our list this week. Look, I spend hours researching this stuff so you don't have to. If this helped you, smash that like button. It literally takes 1 second and helps more people find this vital information. What I really want to know from you, which of these items would impact your daily life the most? Drop it in the comments below. And if you know a better storage hack than what I shared, share it with our community. I actually read every comment. Want more practical tips like this? That subscribe button is calling your name. Click it, hit the notification bell, and you'll never miss our weekly updates on what's happening with your food supply. And hey, one last thing. Next week, we're covering something huge about water supplies that nobody's talking about. Trust me, you won't want to miss it.